I'm national correspondent Kayla Gaskins on Capitol Hill. House Republicans are moving ahead with a vote next week on a controversial election bill, the Save America Act. It's a measure that would require proof of citizenship to register to vote and a government-issued photo ID at the polls. The fight over voter ID is heading back to the House floor as the House plans to vote next week on the Save America Act. Republicans argued the bill would strengthen election integrity.
The only reason you don't want to have voter ID is because you want people to vote who aren't citizens or shouldn't be voting.
But Democratic leaders are forcefully pushing back, framing voter ID laws as discriminatory.
What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting. This is vicious and nasty. We're not reviving Jim Crow all over the country.
A Pew Research survey from August shows broad public support for voter ID requirements, including 76% of black adults, 85% of white adults, and 82% of Hispanic adults.
They're going to cry, Jim Crow. They're going to cry that it's racist because that's their tired, playbook. But we've got legislation that has massive support across the country from all walks of life. 24 states currently have laws on the books asking for photo ID to vote. A federal law would require showing a photo ID in all 50 states. August's Pew Research poll also found bipartisan support for a photo ID requirement, including 95% of Republicans and 71% of Democrats.
Why is it when you want to get on an airplane, Larry, nobody questions when you want to get on an airplane, you've got to show ID? Do they call that racist? Of course not. It's common sense.
The bill is expected to pass the House, putting pressure on the Senate to consider it, but GOP leaders have signaled hesitation, worried Democrats could use floor debate to delay other legislative priorities. On Capitol Hill, I'm Kayla Gaskins. I'm national correspondent Kayla Gaskins in Washington. The issue of voter ID is back in the spotlight on Capitol Hill as Republicans press the Senate to take up the SAVE Act. The bill would require proof of citizenship to register to vote and mandate voter ID at the polls. Republicans are ramping up pressure on the Senate to vote on the SAVE Act, legislation that would require Americans to prove their citizenship when registering to vote and to show identification at the polls.
Who would not want voter ID? Only somebody that wants to cheat. Think of it. We don't have voter ID, and the Democrats don't want it. And the reason they don't want it is because they want to cheat.
The bill has already passed the House, but its future in the Senate remains uncertain, with GOP leaders stopping short of committing to a timeline of bringing it to the floor for a vote.
We will get a vote on the SAVE Act at some point, and I'm not sure exactly what that context will be.
Democrats calling it a step backward for voting rights.
The SAVE Act is nothing more than Jim Crow 2.0. It would lead to massive purges that inevitably remove legitimate American citizens who have the right to vote from voter rolls.
House Republicans remain firmly committed to the policy.
It's a top priority of the president. It's a top priority of House Republicans, and it should be all Republicans.
And so does President Trump.
Voter ID is a highly popular and common sense policy that the president wants to pursue.
Polling suggests broad support for some form of voter ID. A Pew Research Center survey found more than 9 in 10 Republicans and about 7 in 10 Democrats favor photo ID requirements. And a Gallup poll from last fall showed majority support across parties for requiring proof of citizenship for first-time voter registration. Some Republicans have called for the Senate to bypass filibuster rules to get around the 60-vote threshold needed to advance the SAVE Act. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said the option will be discussed, but nothing is decided yet. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.